G'day guys. Today what I want to do is I want to help you out a little bit. If you've got what we call the new Boss Air campboss tyre deflators, then there's a few little tips and techniques that would be really cool to help you use the product to its best performance, okay? Now, so the way it works, so this is for people who have a Boss Air, and these are people who don't have a Boss Air and are looking at getting one. Now, there's 4 of them in the bag, so we'll pull them out. There's 4, okay? So there's 4 in that little packet, and there they are there. That's 4 of those little Boss Air tyre deflators. Now, we're just going to use one of them. Now, they've got 4 because you've got 4 tyres on your car. Now, I've just unscrewed the locking ring here, and what that does is that'll reveal the gauge on the threaded stem there. So that's the gauge there. Now, if I wind that all the way down, you'll see that it goes from 30 psi down to 5 psi. Now, that is adjusted by moving the bottom body here up and down along that threaded shaft, okay? Now, it's a good idea to preset these before you go out. And so I'm going to set this one today, and I'm going to set it to 20. I want to try and line the body up with that mark. Now, this is an analog adjustment, okay? And almost it is very, very fine. So you could make a turn, half a turn or a quarter of a turn, and it can change the PSI that comes out of your tyre, okay? So that can change the settings just by doing that or that. So I've set that to roughly about 20. Now, remember what I said, roughly, because it is an analog gauge, but I'm going to set it to my gauges, what I think is going to work. So I've got 3 gauges to show you anyway so that we can see what it goes to. Now, first of all, we're just going to check that. So we're going to test that on this tyre here. And this is a 35-inch tyre, so it's quite a big tyre, and it's got 40 psi in it. Now, I'm going to check it with this gauge, and it says 39.3 psi, okay? There we go. I'm going to check it with this gauge. That says 39.3, which is pretty good, and I'm going to check it with this analog gauge. And that says about 38, 39, okay? So that's within probably those 3 gauges, within 0.3. So let's stick the tyre deflator on. So we're going to screw it on. So basically what you do is you just screw it on here like that. Now straight away, that little plunger comes straight out. Sometimes if it doesn't come out straight away, the little plunger, then what you'd see there you go, I've pushed it back in and held it, now it doesn't want to come out. So what I got to do is I just got to release that, and it releases the pressure. All right, so we're going to let that go down now to the set pressure, which is 20 psi. Now, with 4 of those, I can just walk around and do all 4, but I'm just going to do 1 at a time. Well, I'm only going to do 1 here, actually. But yeah, I could be doing all 4 and spend the same amount of time. All right, so that's now stopped. So what I'll do is I'm going to unscrew that. Now it's stopped because the plunger has blocked it off. So I now take this off. All right, we'll whack that down there, and I'm going to check it with my 2 tyre gauges. There's the first one. I set that to 20, and that's 19.7. There you go, there's one. I'll check it with this one. 19.7, and I'm going to check it with this one. And this analog gauge says bang on 20. If you have a look at that, it says bang on 20. Okay, so there you go. That's on, out of those 3 gauges, was within 0.3, 0.4, okay? And are these gauges accurate? I don't know. Yeah, you could say that they're accurate. How have they been calibrated? Don't know. Not really that much of a drama because, look, let's face it, it says roughly 20, okay? Now, the one thing is I do know, is that I've just put these tyres on this car, and this, what they call a straighter valve or strotor valve, which is the thing inside there, inside your valve stem, okay, is brand new, okay? That's brand new. Literally, I just put this on the other day, these tyres. So, and it's had a cap on the whole time. Now, because this is a valve and this is a pressure relief valve, and air has to come out of a really small hole out of the side here, all right? You can't get any contaminants in there, okay? So if you're the guy that doesn't put your caps on your wheels like that, okay, all the time. I mean all the time. Simon is one of those guys that doesn't put his caps on, and the amount of crap that comes in and out of those valves is unbelievable. And I'm not talking about, oh yeah, just hit that and you can blow some of the air out and whatever's in there. No. If you're driving around on the beach and you don't have your caps on, the corrosion that'll build up in there just in one day, you'd be surprised. So, making sure that that's nice and clean, you haven't dropped this in the sand. Now let's say you did drop it in the sand, and let's say you picked up a little bit of contamination from that valve in there, okay? Because remember, if you look at the size of that hole, now that's a really small hole, so you can imagine it wouldn't take much to clog that up, especially if I dropped it in the sand even. So if that happens and you find that your Boss Air Tyre Deflator is dropping, it's going past that point and dropping it flat, you go, oh, what the hell's going on? Okay, so there could be one of two things. It could be this is a little bit sticky, okay? And that could be from straight from perhaps out of the packet, just needs a little bit of movement like that, because there is a nylon sleeve in there, which I'm going to show you right now. I'm going to pull this open so that you can actually do this if you like. There are no parts that are going to fall on the ground here. Okay, once I pull it apart, there it is. See that in my hand? I've pulled it apart. Okay, that's the body of it. Now, if you give that a quick bit of a quick blow like that, you can use the air compressor if you want. Making sure that it's all clear. So you can do this on the side of the track if you wanted to. And make sure this plunger here is all nice and clean. So give that a quick clean. And look, it wouldn't even hurt to put a little bit of, CRC if you want it on there. At this stage, I'm just going to check it, make sure that this slides up and down, so my little spring is working beautifully. So now I'm just going to assemble it. So I'm tightening it back up now, and obviously I can just set it to whatever setting I want. And look, let's face, that's my setting there. And look, the writing's quite small, but it has to be so that you can make the adjustment. And yeah, I usually set Simon's for him, his eyes aren't as good as they used to be. And I lock it off, my favourite setting, which is 20 PSI. And that's it. And then one last thing, just make sure that the shaft is there nicely and you can feel it. Yeah, working nicely. Okay, perfect. There you go, guys. That is the campboss Boss Air Tyre Deflator. It will cut your tyre deflation, guarantee it, by half.
You've got it, you've got it, you've got it, you've got it.